recording now? Alright. We didn't do the Noam Elimelech. Alright, we didn't do the Noam Elimelech on Wednesday because it was Yantiv. So, let's quickly learn the Noam Elimelech on Parshas shmini. This is the animal that you can eat, nearly. So it says, it seems to me the Isa Bezer Kodesh Zois Achai Remes LaShem Kodesh. When it says this is the animal or the living thing, that's a holy name. The Zohar says Asher Toichlu, that you could eat. That through the holy name we have what we can hold on to and a source of life. Or Yoimar, another explanation, Zois Achaya, this is the living animal. Remez Lama Shiro Daniel Chaya Zoy Edoim. And Daniel had the vision of different animals, different beasts. One represented the Edomites, the Romans. Asher Toichlu, that you should eat Loshen. V'chaltem Esevechem. It says you're going to consume your enemies, not literally eat their bodies. I've heard such a moitzi shemra that there was such an understanding like that, chas v'shalom. It just means you're going to destroy them. You're going to destroy the enemies. This is how you're going to have the energy to destroy your enemies. How? What's this? The Haidam Mikol Behema. It's from all the cattle, all the beasts. The Isa B'Gemara, the Bava Metzia, the Talmud says, Amar Rav Chanina Mesur de Parshas L'Ravina. Chanina from Persian Surah said to Ravina, Yetzias Mitzrayim dechasav Rachmana Gabe Shrotzim Lamali. Why is the exodus from Egypt mentioned in regard to the impurity of creeping, reptiles and rodents and things? Amalei. So he said, Amar Kodesh Baruch Ani Shehav Chanti. The same one, the same God who understood between the houses that had the blood and the houses that didn't have the blood on the lintels, that God passed over the houses that slaughtered the lamb. I also know the difference between different species of reptiles and rodents and mollusks and insects and things. Amalei Anamala Kupkashili. So it said this one is brought up. It's difficult. Why does God say He brought us up from Egypt? Like the son of the Rabbi Shmuel. It's like Rabbi Shmuel. They taught in the academy of Rabbi Shmuel. El Moli lo Elisias Yisrael ele Bishvil she'enam tam shrotzim uyusehi gabayo. That it would have been enough for God to redeem the Israelites from Egypt just by virtue of the fact that they don't eat bugs, which I know the left, that's something they're pushing now, is eating shrotzim, eating, mealworms and crickets and things, and they're saying it's better for the environment or something because of methane gas from cows or whatever. But really, it's an inyan of tumah. It's an inyan of destroying our souls. That's what it's really all about. Yishloimer perish a Gemara Hanal Al Piba de Isa B'Medrash. Of course, there are locusts that are kosher, but you have to know which ones they are. Are these blooming yet? See, I want to make a Birkas Ilonis. This one's a little bit. I don't think it's ready yet. I'll wait. Maybe, by next week it should be Ernst to Birkas Ilonis. Maybe Monday. Alright. So the Gemara could be explained like this medrash. Shalom al-Achim es HaKadosh Baruch Hu lama bara shrotzim. So the angels ask God, why did you create these non-kosher, impure rodents and reptiles and things? Thing is, I love reptiles. I'm a big reptile fan. I have a gecko, which I know is a sheretz, according to a lot of opinions, but it's alive. It's the only problem with shrotzim when they're dead. And the truth is, it lowers the blood pressure. It gives I really enjoy having a pet reptile. I would love to have snakes and other reptiles, and I love to go to the zoo and look at the reptiles, or see them in the wild. Sometimes you see a snake or a turtle. It's a beautiful thing that God created. But the angels wanted to ask God, why did He create? But shrotzim are not only reptiles or amphibians; it could be rodents and other things which I don't really like. When I see a mouse in my house, I'm not very happy. Even though when you catch them, because I usually catch them live, you look at them, they're very cute little things, but I don't like to see them in my house. Anyway, isn't that nice? The president sent me a text. Anyway, so the thing is, I'm not going to eat the bugs. I'm not going to eat lizards. So God said He created these animals for the purpose of the prosecution. What does it mean? So if they say, why do you need the Jews? Look at all the sins they're doing. So God says, well, I made these shrotzim, I made these insects, reptiles and things. They don't need them. There's no purpose to them, but I created them. There doesn't need to be a purpose, other than if I created these creatures and I have mercy on their being, so too I created the Klal Yisrael. Even if they're sinners, even if they don't deserve it, this is it. And that's what it says. This, I brought them up. It's difficult in Ma'alahu Lashon Akbah. That when it says God brought them up out of Egypt, it means He lifted them up. God lifts us up out of the impurity and out of sin, but we fall down again. But God lifts us up again. What merit do the Jews have that God is going to lift us up out of our sins? There's one thing, that just by virtue of the fact, even there are Jews who, God forbid, eat pork, and I guess they eat the shrotzim from the water, some of them too, which is a different isser, still usser, but they don't eat, but they don't eat mice and snails and frogs and bugs, other than the kosher locusts. Even that they're not eating so much, right? Just the fact that they don't eat those things is enough that God has mercy on us. Even though they're disgusting, who wants to eat such things, And again, so that's why even they're sneaking protein from bugs into all kinds of foods. So Nimsa, and then there are Jews who are, even they're not so frum, but they won't eat the chazer and they won't eat the lobster. I remember I was a kid, we weren't frum, right? My father wasn't Jewish. He'd want to go eat at Red Lobster, right? And my mother would say, us kids, my mother's Jewish, no, you're going to eat the beef, even if it wasn't kosher beef. But she wouldn't let us eat the lobster. There's a certain mila, even a Yid who's not frum, he has a certain amount of Yiddishkeit, a pintel Yid. You know, I'm not talking about a Russia like a George Soros or Bernie Sanders, someone like that who's evil. They're not the part of Klal Yisrael. But a Yid who maybe drives to shul, he's not so frum, but he tries, he does something, he fasts on Yom Kippur, he likes Hanukkah Lecht, you know. All right, maybe he's not Shomer Shabbos, maybe it's cheeseburgers or whatever, you know. And he has to pay for those sins, of course. And we're all sinners, you know. I have my sins, we all have our sins, you know. But but there's certain things that he does, the Shem Shemaim, you know, like, I know, like, I'll tell you something interesting. So, there was a friend of ours, he brought his mother, also like me. His father's not Jewish, his mother's Jewish, and he's a real chassid. He's a real strong Baal Tshuva, a real chassid, real ehrlich and tzaddik, and much frumer than me, much more ehrlich than me. And it's interesting, he brought his mother to Kalav Rebbe Shlita, Chef Shlema, and the Rebbe, that's my Rebbe, Kalav Rebbe. The Rebbe said, I want you to be makabel on yourself, you're not going to light fire on Shabbos. And then he said, you know, and it's easy these days because everything's electric. And there's something to that. Al pi halacha, there's different opinions about whether electricity is a malacha, even if it's a derabanan, is it deraisa, is it derabanan, is it a minig? So there's opinions, even though, like Reb Shlomo Zalman says, it's still aser, except for, you know, pekuach nefesh, when everything's mutter, or for mechush, whatever, that it's still aser for us to use electricity. I'm not saying chas v'shalom, you could do whatever you want, because we don't do it, but there's no reason that you have to not use electricity. It's just something we do. It's part of being part of our community. It's per its getter if someone uses electricity, shalom tzarech, right? But it's not mistama, although there are opinions that's the deraisa or the rabbanon. But there are enough poskim who hold that it's not. So again, if you have somebody who's maybe they're not frum, but they're trying and they have they're makabel some inyan of Shabbos, they're makabel some inyan of kashrus, even they're not keeping 100%. You know, and the thing is, it's not that hard to keep 100%. A lot of what we think, not everything needs a hechsher. You could go, Rabbi Abadi, he's all gesundsein, big poisik, is a Talmud of Baron Kotler. His children, his Elimelech, have websites where you send them the list of the ingredients of an item, and they tell you if it's kosher or not, even without a hechsher. Personally, I myself, I don't rely on these things usually, under most circumstances. But except for the times when certain, you know, a lot of people are makel when it comes to certain things that don't need a hechsher. You know, alcoholic beverages, or if I've been to the factory and I know what's in it, you know, because I know, like they say, honey needs a hechsher. But there's one place, a honey meadery. I went there and I saw what and I didn't give them a hechsher because I didn't want to be stepping on the feet of the Rav of the town there. But I don't see anything that's not kosher there. A lot of the honey meats they make in the same casks with wine that I wouldn't buy, even though you might have some heter with that if it's a stainless steel. But I'm not going to be mekel on that because yayin nesech is a har bezach, and even stam yena, it's a har bezach. It's not bottle, but the place that I know doesn't make any wine; they only make mead. And I looked at all their ingredients and everything, and I had a tour of what they do. So I'll drink it because I know. Anyway. Hashratzim nimsa ein tzorach klal b'vriyasam kevin shisrol enoichel mehem achol pichen barasim kedivrei medrash hanal. So the whole thing is that the reason is for the shratzim is because the Eden don't eat it, and that's enough. Even if they're doing all kinds of other averas, chas v'shalom. But the fact that they're not eating the shratzim, that's enough. So then the prosecuting attorney, the Satan, can't prosecute. And just that fact that we're not eating disgusting things that nobody wants to eat anyway. And people, they say they want to eat it, they're fooling themselves. That's enough. That lifts us up from our sins. It's a big thing. So that's what it means. So all Jews have a chelik nolam haba in the world to come, of a portion. Perish Klal Yisrael kanal. And the whole Jewish people together have a portion. Gamet tzaddik nikra called. Also the saint, the righteous person is called. The tzaddik is called all. Shul Eker Klal Klalos leHashpia Am Tova Bracha V'Yira. That the main thing is to give them this goodness, this blessing, this fear. Shal Yedei tzaddik this Urim Klal Yisrael b'tshuva. The fact you have a tzaddik like a Kalav Rebbe, he inspires us to do tshuva. We all want to do tshuva. When we see the Kalav Rebbe, and now he has Lou Gehrig's disease, but he's still writing Torah and doing amazing things. And we see such a tzaddik, it inspires us to do tshuva. I remember seeing the Sklener Rebbe Zechron Bracha. Seeing coming up the Yortzin in Berach Moshe. I remember Berach Moshe. See the tzaddikim. I remember Avkaduri. You would see these tzaddikim inspire you to tshuva. This is what it says that Moses said to Aaron, come close to the altar. Perish Rashi Shahaya Aaron Boish V'Yorlegeshes. It means Rashi says that Aaron was embarrassed. He was afraid. I'm not worthy to go to the altar. So Moses said to Aaron, why are you embarrassed? This is why you were chosen. You're the chosen one. The main thing for a person is that he's ashamed. He has shame. So it's a good sign if a person is embarrassed, is humble, is shameful. Someone who has this positive aspect of shame is not going to sin so easily. Aaron, the high priest, the brother of Moses, my great-great-grandfather from my grandmother's father's side, he was very humble, and that's why he had this positive attribute of shame. That's the way of a tzaddik, is that he sees all of his sins, every little thing that could possibly be seen as a sin. Even something very slight, it's like a big sin to him. And that humbles him. And then he humbles himself all the time. And he he rebukes himself publicly. I have to rebuke myself. I'm a sinner. You know the joke. There was a rabbi clapping. "Oi, I'm such a sinner. I'm nobody. I'm nothing." And then there's the cantor. Also, he's clapping on Yom Kippur. "I'm nothing." And then the president of the shul, he's clapping. "I'm nothing. I'm nothing." And then the cantor turns to the rabbi. "Look who thinks he's nothing." So, aval yedei zeh machnisi hurei tshuva v'shemim. Through this, thoughts of penitence come to those who hear it. Because if these big, cedar trees have fallen, what about little bits of hyssop on the wall? And everyone repents. So that's why Moses said, Rashi tells us, Moses said to Aaron, "Why are you embarrassed? Because you're ashamed, that's why you're worthy to come close to the altar. This is why you were chosen. This is the type of tzaddik who could conduct the worship of the Almighty. That's why Aaron came close to the altar. When Aaron heard that is the high level of shame and humility, then he did it. Then Aaron came close to the altar. He was always bringing himself closer. He was doing kiruv to himself. He was bringing himself closer to the altar. Why did he go to the altar? Because he was so humble. He was like, I need atonement. I need to go to the altar for atonement. That's what made him such a big tzaddik. Let's try to chaperai the other two, the Kedushas Levi and the Maharal. All right.